Good morning. I'm going to tell you the start of a prayer that Paul prays. I want you to have a go at guessing what you think comes at the end of this prayer. So Paul says, I pray that in all power according to the might of God you will be ... What do you think comes at the end of this prayer? You might think that you will be empowered to take the gospel to the ends of the earth and to communicate boldly and wisely. Or you might think that after this might come something like you will be strengthened with all power according to the glorious might of God to perform great miracles and many people will see and believe. No, check this. So this comes from Colossians 1:11. Paul says, I pray that you will be strengthened with all power according to the glorious might of God to be patient with joy. It's such a humble thing, isn't it? Such a small goal. Yeah, I think I kind of relate to Paul here. We really do need the full power of God, the full might of God to exercise patience. And I want to distinguish today between two different types of patience. I want to focus in on one because you can be patient for things, but you also need to be patient with people. And these are two kind of fundamentally different types of patience. And patience is more than just waiting. So when you're being patient for something, that's when you wait for it. You wait patiently. It might be that you're in a restaurant, everything's super busy, you put your order in for food and you have to wait. And you know how much of a drag that is. You're waiting for something, so you have to be patient. But there's also being patient with people. In the meantime, if you've got kids with you and they're kicking off, they're being difficult, they're being hard, then you have to be patient with someone. You have to be patient with your children. So you've got being patient for things and being patient with people. And because of this, patience is more than just waiting. Patience is about bearing with each other in love. It's about that endurance and that joy. And I actually think this kind of latter type of patience, being patient with people in their brokenness, in their repeated sins, when they hurt us again and again, this is the more challenging, the more difficult type of patience. But it's a patience that I believe we're called to, and we can only achieve and we can only actualize and realize this kind of patience when we have the power and the strength of God according to his glorious might. So this verse that Paul's talking about, I think he's talking about a kind of ongoing spiritual, moral patience in the way that we conduct ourselves in a continually pure, loving, forgiving, kind, compassionate and caring way with the people who we share life with. So Paul prays for us in this way. Now I actually want to consider two other ways we could divide patience into two other categories. There's a kind of passive patience, and then there's a persistent patience. Now passive patience is kind of where you say, right, I'm going to be patient with this person, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it in a kind of letting go way. I'm going to become passive, I'm going to become apathetic, not care, not invest, disconnect, disengage, just emotionally step away from a person, from a situation, and you become a passive party in it. It's not that you've completely moved out, it's not a dramatic storm out drama, I'm not going to have anything to do with this person or anything to do with this situation again. It's a kind of just emotional disconnect. Basically, passive patience is saying, I'll be patient, but I'm just not going to engage anymore. I'm not going to be affected by this anymore. And that's a kind of passive patience. But there's also a persistent patience. I believe this is a patience that Paul wants us to have when he's praying that we'll be strengthened and we'll have endurance. And we talk about bearing with one another in love. I think Paul's calling us to what I would call a persistent patience. So we're patient with people in a persistent way. Now, perhaps an analogy will help here, or an illustration of the difference between these two types of patience. As a parent, you are responsible for the social, emotional, relational, spiritual development and well-being of your children. You are the one who shapes them, you form them, you mould them, you challenge them, and you bring them the right type of discipline at the right times to grow their character and to strengthen them. And it's a great joy to have that, but also a great responsibility to have that relationship with a young person, with a child as they grow up and develop. So I want to kind of consider these two types of patience, because obviously children can test our patience to the max. So at the moment, one of the things we've been trying to do is teach our little boy, who's 3 years old, teach him manners. We want him to say please when he asks for stuff, and I lose count of the number of times in one single day that I'll tell him, say please, say please, say please. There's a constant reminder of what should he say, what's the magic word, and you're trying to mix it up and vary the way you challenge him to use manners, because you're just saying it so many times and it never seems to sink in. Does that mean you become passive? Does that mean you're like, oh no, they just can't do it? No, persistent patience is where you continue to remind, you continue to prompt, to challenge, you engage, because you're responsible for that child, you're responsible for their development and well-being, and you commit in your mind and your heart to saying, no matter how many times I have to gently remind this child that they need to have manners, I'm going to do it, because one day they're just going to ask with the manners that I'm hoping they will do. And this is what I mean by the persistent patience. It's making a decision that you'll persist again and again and again and again. Now, what becomes really hard when you're dealing with a small child and manners, it's kind of a bit cute and fluffy, it's a nice example. Sometimes it'll be people that keep making the same mistakes and they keep hurting us. Now, I'm not saying that you necessarily have to keep those people in your life. There might be a point where God says, no, break it off, you need some distance, you can't keep being hurt again. But as long as you're in that person's life, I believe God is calling us into this kind of persistent patience, bearing with, enduring, going on that long-term journey. And the only way we can do that, Paul indicates, is through having the power of God, his glorious might at work in us. So that's my prayer for you guys today. It's that you will experience and know and understand God's power to help you be patient and to endure. And the other thing that Paul slips in there in Colossians 1:11 is with joy. With joy. It's not just endurance in a kind of long-term slog, I'm just so fed up of this. He wants us to have joy on the journey too, and it's only through the strength and the might and the power and the equipping of God that we can do that. So God bless you guys on this journey of patience today. I just pray that God brings deep and sincere patience into your life and continues to grow you in this journey. I definitely know I'm on a journey with it as well, so please be praying for me as I develop this virtue, this quality of spiritual patience in my own life. God bless you guys. See you tomorrow. Take care. Bye for now.